Hey, what's up, you guys? It's your boy Clinton still, and I wanted to record a video today talking about embezzling funds from a homeless shelter to survive. Oh, Haven of Hope, say it ain't so. So, guys, I wanted to briefly talk about my experience with the Haven of Hope, which is Denver's premier homeless day shelter here in the city. So, I was homeless. Many people don't know I was homeless for 22 months, and so during that time, I kind of sampled a couple of different places, and so Haven of Hope was a place that I went frequently because not only is the facility extremely immaculate for a homeless facility, I actually used to volunteer at Houston's best homeless day shelter. It was the Beacon of Hope, and so sorry, not the Beacon of Hope. It was just called the Beacon. So I was mixing them up. Sorry. So I used to volunteer at the Beacon, and originally it started as me just volunteering for a school requirement, and then I actually liked it. So I ended up just going back and volunteering regularly. It was a facility in Houston for those that have mental health, similarly to how Haven of Hope, they don't necessarily specialize in that, but again, they do welcome those that have mental health issues and offer counseling and things like that. So I have a document here where I effectively walk down the chronological timeline of the events that happened as to how I got introduced to Haven of Hope, the different events and things like that that happened. But I'm not going to necessarily run through that. But in the description of this video, I will link it so that you can, go through it and then review it. And then also I have a Canva design too, which kind of, explains and summarizes things as well. But long story short, guys, without running through every single one of the bullet points, I just wanted to kind of give my brief overview of how I got involved with the organization. So on September 1st of 2023, I was dating a woman. I actually moved to Denver in May of 2022. And so I started, working remote at my Fortune 150 cybersecurity consulting job at that time. And so I was working remote there in Denver for a month. And then I said, you know what, now that I've been working here for a month, I want to take the full plunge into entrepreneurship. So in June of 2022, I quit my job and I started my entrepreneurial endeavors. My primary goal for getting into entrepreneurship was so that I could run my own businesses with Christ consciousness, and then I wanted to become a philanthropist. I did eventually want to work with the homeless. Excuse me. In fact, I promised God that if He rescued me from the hell that is corporate America, I will absolutely open up a nonprofit to help the homeless and, all of that stuff. I mean, that's already part of who I was before I even came across this organization. So the reason why I wanted to say that is because the administration staff in the organization likes to try to paint the narrative that I was some homeless vagabond just smoking weed on the street that completely tanked my own life of my own volition because I just wanted to smoke weed and they rescued me. And if it was not for them doing the needful and saving me from the streets, I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for those kind bleeding hearts at Haven of Hope. Well, we all know that that's crap. So I just want to give, again, a brief little overview. Won't run down all the bullet points, but I'll highlight it in the video. So long story short, I was dating a woman, Vanessa, and I tried to move her here to Denver. And so we were actually staying in Park Meadows in a Residence Inn for 5 months. So for 5 months, it was largely her paying because my money was, being funneled into my businesses, and she knew that too. So again, this was not me just doing this behind her back. She very much knew that every single penny I had, I prioritized it towards my business and not our relationship and going out and having fun, which, again, prior in December of 2022, she and I went to Mexico, and she went on first class for the first time in her life because of my airline status. So again, I am not some homeless person that they just completely picked up off the street that was just roaming around doing nothing. So anyways, we are in a $120 or ish, night dollar a night hotel. So we are paying that every single night, basically. I think it ended up being like 120 or anywhere from 95 to 120. But long story short is, money is being paid. It's not like, we're foreign to money and didn't have it. So I was staying in a hotel, again, in one of the nicer areas of Denver for 5 months with my girlfriend. And so, again, financial disagreements being one of the reasons why we split, and so she left. Don't need to go into that. The chronological book details goes into that a bit more. Now, what happened next was that I was homeless for a couple of days, and I met a gentleman named Kevin. And so we were just talking, and so he kind of ran me through his routine of how he survives. And so he said, "Hey, Haven of Hope is one of the places that I go." Now, when I went to Haven of Hope, I was impressed by it. It was a really great place, and I still feel like it's a great facility. My only issue is the administration staff. So after going to Haven of Hope for about 8 months, I would largely keep to myself. And what would end up happening was that I ended up eventually being spoken to by the kitchen manager, Miss K. So Miss K asked me, she said, "Hey, I noticed that you do come here and you keep to yourself. You don't mix in with anybody. You look like have a good head on your shoulders. Would you like to come and work? Are you looking for a job? I'm looking for help in the back in the washing dishes." So I was given a trial run, and eventually I was hired once they saw that I could perform. Now again, I quit corporate America to open a nonprofit and to help the homeless. So when somebody says, "Hey, would you like to come and help and wash dishes?" I didn't say, "Oh, don't you know I used to make $160,000 a year? I'm a cybersecurity engineer. I can never just wash dishes." No, I do whatever the Lord calls of me. I'm like Noah, in that there are many seasons of my life where God has commanded me to do many jobs that I didn't really necessarily care for, but I saw the bigger picture at the end. I mean, fun fact: my first job ever was at Walmart, unloading the 18 wheelers that would come in. So again, there's like two trucks every night, backbreaking labor of literally taking all those boxes and unloading them from the truck. Second fun fact: my mother stole my acceptance letters to college when I was 18. She was opening up a home healthcare business on some monkey see, monkey do type of stuff from my aunt. And so what ended up happening was that she opened up that business and wanted me to run it. So what ends up happening is she runs that business, and so she wants me to become the director of nursing. She forces me into nursing school by effectively clipping my wings, taping my acceptance letters, and so eventually what ends up happening was I go to nursing school. So I've even done the CNA portion twice, of having to bathe, geriatric patients and things like that. So again, I've done a lot of things I didn't necessarily care for, but I've done it. So I was working there. Now, the primary thing I noticed was that I was being treated like I was some sort of make-a-wish kid that they saved off the street. Now, again, I was already established as a business professional, and I was living somewhere with my girlfriend at the time. I just was temporarily displaced in my house. At temporary displaced, I didn't have a place to live. So while working there, I did eventually start staying at the building. And after a month, I noticed that Derek Bonds, the executive director, he likes to dangle the fact that he's paying people over their heads. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to get off of payroll as soon as possible to make sure that he did not have that bargaining chip over me. So I continued volunteering there, minimum 3 hours per day at the beginning of the day, from 6 a.m. to, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. ish. But sometimes I stayed till 10, just if I was bored or I just really wanted to help or if it was really busy. Now, Derek didn't like that. Of course, I'm not on payroll. I'm a volunteer, effectively, and he can't control me. There's nothing that he can really say to me. And he also envied that I had a life of professional accomplishments and financial accomplishments that he had never touched before, we had crossed paths. So I noticed a lot of times when I'd give him ideas, he would shoot them down and he wouldn't really give them much credence or, act like they were really all that valuable. But then he'd go behind my back and then share those same revelations. Now, the thing about it is, I wanted to show Haven of Hope used to be called Father Woody. And so Father Woody was the Catholic priest who ended up creating the shelter. And so what Derek is ended up doing is, again, by being a pastor and pretending he's a man of God, he's effectively taking funds, and he's a veteran too, so that makes it even worse. He is taking funds that are supposed to be meant for a facility to help the homeless that was established by a Catholic priest so that he can use that position in the city to make it look like he is somebody who is, of course, of merit. Now, my reason for recording this video is that if you type in my name, ClintonMetu, the first result that you see is you see that I am here asking on Denver 7 for funds to help the organization make sure that they reach their goals to continue having services. I think I am featured. Yeah, exactly. So Here you can see Derek Vaughn's, that's him right there. And then, of course, there's me asking for funds. Now, I was approached to ask for funds because I'm an eloquent speaker and they felt that I would be able to eloquently state why they needed more funds. However, when I started working and volunteering there, I found that they didn't actually want my help. They didn't want insights on how to run the place better. What they wanted was for someone to endorse them to beg for money so that they can then continuing embezzling funds and then intentionally mismanaging the place so that they have a nice, really cushy job to run. So, one of the things that I did, once I noticed that they continuously were treating me like I was some sort of, excuse me, ex-drug user that they saved off the street and they were giving me a second chance at life, I sent them a reintro email to Andrea. And so she is one of the people who I was looking to make sure that there was going to be some new, there's going to be some new, just new investments within the organization, things like that. So that is to make sure that if we are going to help improve the place and run it better, here's some of the areas in which I can help. I mean, I'm already volunteering my time there. So again, I'm a competent cybersecurity professional. I have business experience, project planning, administration. I'm also a spiritual man of God. So what I did was I noticed that they did not take my submissions or my suggestions seriously. And I felt that they thought that I was somebody that they were saving off the street. So what kind of insightful revelations could I be sharing with them? So what ends up happening was I did send them this reintroduction email to let them know I have a lot of different competencies in areas that you guys don't. So in case you're not familiar with my resume, the suggestions that I'm making are from a well-informed place. That homeless shelter, that nonprofit homeless shelter, runs on a $2 million a year budget, whereas I was responsible for coming up with double-digit $1 million slides to illustrate why this double or triple-digit billion-dollar Fortune 150 company needs to revamp their cybersecurity. So within this double or triple-digit billion-dollar company, I'm responsible for telling them how to spend like $40 million. So why could I not analyze a $2 million homeless shelter and then figure out how we can run it better? So I sent that email, and about after a month of not receiving any kind of feedback or any kind of plans for them to implement the suggestions or the help that I was making, there was a key moment that happened that shifted things. So we had a fundraiser gala coming up, and the executive director, Derek, asked if we would be able to invite everybody that we know so that we can help to raise funds. Now, the interesting part, which spurred this part of the email, was Derek then turns to Mark and I. Now, Mark used to work at, I believe, Ernst & Young or KPMG, I forget, one of the larger consulting firms. But long story short, both Mark and I have Fortune 150, professional experience. We're both financially, accomplished men. Again, I'm struggling. I'm building my own business at the time. So again, I'm not just floundering due to my own incompetence. I'm literally building a business while everybody is slandering my name out of envy because they can't come with me on this next journey. And I used to take care of them, teach them, and feed them. So with that said, I noticed that, after this part of the meeting, Derek turns to Mark and I and he says, hey, and you two specifically, I need you to invite everybody you know who knows somebody who may know somebody who may know somebody who may know somebody who may want to donate. So that moment in and of itself showed me that what I was watching while I was there at the organization was weaponized incompetency, meaning that Derek knows that we're competent, but he does not want to accept our feedback because he knows that we have more knowledge and say than he does, and thus would take the reins away from him, which Mark and I didn't have the interest in doing. We just wanted to help make the place run better. So with that said, I then now sent this email to follow up and to let them know that it has been a month since I sent you that email offering my help and professional services for free to this nonprofit. But I am somebody who is only good enough to wash dishes and do remedial tasks, but I am not somebody who can apparently provide good business insight. So what I'm going to need you to do is, I want this on record on email that I am not going to give a single dollar to your organization, but I'll continue to help, because the lights still do need to, stay on in terms of servicing the homeless. It's not just only money. Now, the next day I get called into their office and they are seething angry because I can tell that me giving them money was something that they were banking on. They were banking on them selling this fake image of them being these righteous people. And so, long story short, again, is detailed in the chronological breakdown, and then also my Canva. I have a very, these are the kind of posts that I was making before, so I have them in designs that condense the message. But long story short is that they were banking on me financially donating to help the organization continue, but they were not people who wanted my help in that manner. So I let them know that's not what I'm going to do. And I can run the place better than you, and I don't need a six-figure salary to do it. So with that said, they told me that they didn't need my services anymore. I collected my things and I left. Now, a little bit after that, I want to say a year after that, I mean, not a year, back in, what is this, May? I want to make sure. Okay, yeah, so in May 21, 2025. So again, September 20th is when I left, and now it is May 21st. So I go back to receive services, and there's a day where a gentleman, Paul, did not decide to check me in. So I decided to go on Facebook and again air my grievances. I didn't treat anybody poorly in person, didn't say anything to anybody in person. But I went online and I made sure to make a post that I did not appreciate how I was standing there, and he didn't say that he had a problem with me or anything. He just ignored me. I was standing there for 15 seconds and it was awkward because the lady sitting next to him was like, why is he just ignoring you and not saying anything? He's just pretending like you don't exist. So the lady was nice enough to check me in, and so we checked in. So now, effectively, to just wrap up the video, after I aired up those grievances, I was banned from Haven of Hope. And Derek came to me and talked to me man to man, eye to eye, and he told me that I was banned because of how I attacked the staff. I didn't attack the staff. I attacked the integrity of that organization. And that's what I want to highlight. Just that organization doesn't run with integrity. So that is just the video that I wanted to record to summarize the situation. And I'll include the document and the Canva as well so that you guys can, review it for your own. But I just wanted to let you guys know that some people who talk negatively about me, they need to steal from a homeless shelter to survive. So are you really going to listen to those kind of people about me as to who I am and what I'm about when they have to steal from a homeless shelter when I quit corporate America to start one? All right, guys, I just want to encourage y'all to think, and again, please don't be people that steal from a homeless shelter and embezzle funds, because that's the devil's work, and we don't do that here. All right, guys, I'll see y'all later. All right, peace.